3, 2, 1. Now we are live on Facebook. And Claire, the mic is profanely in your way. Yeah, that's basically it. So,
hello,
angle that mic differently. It's never a good thing to fillet your mic. Whoops. As I'm sure you've heard at Tantor.
They wouldn't dare say such a thing to me.
And don't you think it should be renamed to Trantor?
No, I don't.
Oh, so they're not doing any Asimov.
Not yet.
They're doing elephants.
Elephants?
Yes.
Ooh, I like elephants.
Elephants have really big microphones.
Whenever anybody says stand by, that means one shouldn't talk. Because I'm on the air. Stand by. Good morning. This is Our Wolf, a weekly program dedicated to science fiction, fantasy, enchantment, and the imagination. My name is Jim Freund. With us this morning, Carlos Hernandez and Claire Suzanne Elizabeth Cooney, or CSE Cooney. Just stay tuned, will ya? It's my theme music, Peter Schickley.
It's pretty rockin'.
It's from the movie Silent Running.
From the movie what?
Silent Running.
Silent Running? I feel like I need a long purple cloak.
Yeah, in a desert.
And a palanquin.
It's actually a spaceship with Bruce Stern.
I mean, a spaceship's kind of like a long purple cloak.
With trees. Hi, Heather.
Who's Heather?
Heather is Heather Aronson. She is watching.
Oh, hi, Heather.
And,
Hello, Heather.
Yeah, and there's my friend Ben Zool in Maryland.
Hello, Ben.
Or is it Virginia? Fairfax. Wherever Fairfax County is. It's D.C. What's the difference? So you see, people, they chat to each other. But if I pay attention to what they type, I don't focus on the radio show.
Right.
Oh, hi, Jack. I just got your file today. I'll be editing it. No, there's no editing to be done. It's just Pandora, right? He's the host of Nightmare Magazine.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
wonderful.
Oh, and stand by. And good morning. Gee, why can I not? The opening of the show, what, Max?
Well, a couple of things.
Yes.
But the main one is that there may be an anomaly when you open your microphone and mic 4 at the same time. It causes your microphone to drop out.
I'm noticing that
microphones
drop out.
this
Let me
way.
close mic 4. It's no better. Okay, and it's only slightly, but of course, my headphones are basically, like not live. That's the beginning of my show every week.
Every week, technical difficulty.
Yes, exactly.
I would say turn your master gain all the way up, and the master gain at the top, the purple one.
This one it just about is.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2. Okay, now yes, that's good. Now should I open mic 4? Let's try that. Okay, I'm still good. Say hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Okay, she's good.
All right.
And now
Maybe they fixed it since we discovered
hi,
it the
Carlos.
other day.
Howdy, howdy.
Oh, okay. No, we're all good.
All right, very good.
Okay, Max Schmid, ladies and gentlemen, you heard
Bravo,
him.
bravo.
You listened to him for 3 hours yesterday.
No, only 2, and Ray was on 3.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Well, the golden age of radio. So you're still on the air more than anybody else. Oh my God. Gail, oh my God. Somebody on Facebook who says long time, yeah, like 25 years. So I have to stop and say, hi, Gail. It is good to hear from you. Email me. And yes, Jim, if you've seen Airplane, yes, you should know not to say hi, Jack. But, okay, hello, Jack Kincaid, host of Nightmare Magazine. Edited by John Joseph Adams. Oh, no, I can't do... I did Lightspeed today anyway, but he just sent me the latest Nightmare for next week. The golden age of radio is, what, 75? Yeah, I suppose so. You see, this is what happens, is I see people chatting and typing on Facebook Live, which, by the way, if you want to see, you go to my timeline, Jim Freund, and actually I'm going to share it right now. So it can also be on the WBAI radio timeline. Ooh. Why am I still hearing music? Because I didn't turn that down. And see, this is always the beginning of my show, is getting past all the technical issues. No, I don't want to delete that. I want to share it. Sigh. Okay, share.
Should we like beatbox or something?
Yeah, why? Okay, introduce. Okay, my guests this morning. Carlos Hernandez was first an uninvited guest. My guest, yes.
Oh yeah, I just barged in. Yeah.
Well, you were brought.
Smuggled.
You were smuggled in by Delia Sherman.
In her pocket?
In one of her many pockets.
In the pocket called Interfictions.
Oh.
You were in Interfictions. Oh, you were both in Interfictions?
No, I was
no.
not in Interfictions at all.
Oh, you never were?
No, it was Interfictions 2 though. It was the second anthology.
Okay, the one she
Stephanie
did
Shaw
with
was in that one.
Chris Barzak.
That's right.
Yes, okay. And she brought you and somebody else, I think?
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 of us. I'm trying to
No,
remember.
there were 3 people all told. One of them was Delia, the other was you.
Maybe Genevieve Valentine?
No, because yes.
I
It
thought
was, and I already knew Genevieve.
Right.
And she'd already been on the show like 3 or 4 times, as had Delia. So that was not an event. But I didn't know you. That was my introduction to your work.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know you either, you know.
Yes.
That was our introduction.
And it was a great, great show.
Yeah, that was a great time. I mean, Delia's reading, you know, is always, you know,
Always.
a good time.
Always, yes. And since then, well, okay, we'll get, first I'm going to share, and then we'll get into your real CVs, and then we'll start hearing fiction. Claire,
Yes.
ASA-CSE.
Yes.
Claire, oh God, there's the freaking fax machine. When we move into the new control room, people, you're going to miss the sound of the fax machine and of Max walking up and down the corridors and all that.
It adds texture, Jim.
It really does. It really does. It's like having, you know, sand in your food at the beach.
Right. Or the 20th century encroaching back on this timeline.
Yes, very much so. Especially given how often does anybody use the bleeping fax machine?
I was just saying, who's faxing you at this time? You know,
It faxes itself. It says go fax yourself, and then does so, and it goes through its little maintenance routine at this hour, and I have not yet figured out how the fax to turn it off.
it's kind of darling though. It's just taking care of itself, you know.
Its little faxy self.
When I have somebody in this room reading a short story, and they come to a dramatic pause and they say, he wasn't sure if he was dead, and the damn fax machine goes off at that moment. It is so inappropriate. One time I had Delaney in our old studio. I had Chip Delaney, Samuel R. Delaney, on the air, and he's reading a new unpublished, in this case, not obscene, short story, which for Chip reading aloud can be rare. So that also dates this anecdote. And he's at a very dramatic point, and he's a great reader. And all of a sudden, the Reuters machine goes off, the teletype in the next room
Yeah.
goes off. Ooh, Catherine, I need to talk to you, Catherine.
But not right now, Jim.
Not right now, but but think good thoughts about a reading in March when your story from Tor.com comes out. Okay, so, yes, I know secrets. So she was a guest on the show a month ago. Catherine Duckett, former publicity manager for Tor. Now a writer again.
Good. I hope
Claire.
time.
You won. You're both basically short story writers.
I would say we were.
Well, now you're yes.
basically short
Now
story
you're
writers.
novelizing.
Now we are moving towards longer form, both of us.
I mean, I started writing novels as a teenager, and then Gene Wolfe told me to write short stories so that I could have a byline and I'd be more likely to be published as a novelist. But I've always considered myself a novelist who had to learn for 20 years how to write short stories. And I mean, and the novel I'm writing, I've been writing for 9 years. So I feel like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what a novelist is. I'm a writer.
A novelist is somebody who sells a novel.
Yeah.
And the problem is that I know so many people who have written great short stories and want to sell a collection, and the publisher or agent or who mote it be will say, well, okay, if you write a novel, we'll do your short story collection as a favor.
We're doing it backwards.
As it were. And so this is a problem that both of you have faced, except Carlos is now selling novels. You're working on one. But the thing is that you each have had angels that cherish short story collections.
That's right. Yeah.
And in the case of Carlos, that would be Bill Campbell at Rosarium Publishing, who put out The Assimilated Cuban's Guide to Quantum Santeria.
Santeria. Yes.
I beg your... And I'm from Jackson Heights originally, so
Yeah.
I should know that better. I really should with all my Cubano friends.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, you know, Bill, you know, basically just asked me after I had published in one of his early anthologies if I was interested in a collection, and I hadn't been until he said that, you know, and then I got really interested really fast. So
Yeah, and it's so wonderful that he would ask that.
yeah,
So one that neither of you have published with that also do this. Oh damn, she's in Boston. She did Rick Bose's collection of fairy tales.
Not small beer.
No, not Small Beer Press.
Okay.
Because they're also not in Boston. They're Massachusetts.
Right.
But it'll come to me at an inappropriate time, like in the middle of one of you reading. You know.
Or 3:05 p.m.
Or no,
maybe the fax machine knows.
Ooh, there's a thought.
So-
Indeed. Although I think she deserves a shout out nonetheless. And then there's Mike Allen of Mythic Delirium, who published Bone Swans, Stories, which won the World Fantasy Award for...
2016?
Yeah, but
Oh,
for, I mean...
for a
also-
collection.
Yeah.
For collection, yeah. Not too many awards have story collections even as an award. It's really a horribly overlooked category because my favorite form in skiffy, science fiction, fantasy, and actually fiction is the short story. I love long, immersive novels. Lord of the Rings is a good one. Dune. But the short story, to quote James Gunn, is a polished gem. In a novel, you can walk around, go anywhere, do anything, explore a neighborhood you haven't been in. In a short story, not one word is wasted. Everything is letter perfect, word perfect.
Oh, I mean, I've written some short stories, and I can tell you they're not perfect. You know, like I look at them now and I want to punch them sometimes. But you know, what I would say is the short story is actually really good for ideas and for exploring symbolism. The novel is really good for psychology, you know, because it takes time to delve deep. And you know, I think, you know, there are always exceptions, but I would say the short story is really good for allegory, and it's very good for symbolism, and it's very good for teasing out a single philosophical idea, you know. And so I think it's just maybe that's where your mind tends toward then. Maybe you just like the more philosophical and symbolic rather than... Oh, and I mean, I'm even thinking about Dune is very philosophical, and Lord of the Rings is very philosophical, and so... You know, maybe that's just your thing, Jim.
Well, one's an ecological novel and the other one is a war novel, basically. Tom Clancy referred to Lord of the Rings as the best war novel ever written. And that's high praise coming from Tom Clancy, and I think he's right. He got placed well. But it's the world building is what I like about the really long form, the N.K. Jemisin form, where you're going into trilogies. Tolkien didn't write a trilogy. He wrote a novel which was split into 3 volumes. It's 5 books and an appendix in 3 volumes,
Right.
technically. And he called the whole thing a novel. So Mike Allen at Mythic Delirium has always been a major purveyor of short stories, and I have seen now firsthand, or secondhand I should say, since my partner has a book coming out from him in June or July.
A most wonderful book.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's right, you were one of her beta readers.
I was one of her blurbers.
And blurber, yes. I wonder who came up with the idea of having you...
Mike Allen.
No.
No, it was you? Mike Allen asks me almost for...
I gave Mike the list.
I'm well, Mike always asks me anyway, so I might have ended up there, but thank you for asking me. Barbara's book is fabulous.
Yeah, it's really terrific.
And the way Bone Swans came about was that I had a novella that had been published by a small press that had gone under and never even fulfilled the pre-orders. And I remember Mike had said something when he had been beta reading it just as a buddy, that he wished he could kind of get his hands on it as an editor. So I approached him and I said, I kind of want to self-publish this. I think it's maybe worth at least putting up on Amazon or something, and would you take a look at it, because I know you had some ideas. And that was the big baha. And then he comes back to me and he says, do you have enough to make a collection, because I'd love to work with you. And so that was really that kind of lightning strike out of the blue. And I had no intention of making a collection at that point, but I was super happy I did.
Yeah, absolutely. And for your pains, World Fantasy Award, which is pretty damn cool. And
she was up against Kelly Link that year. I just want to point out that the Genius Award winner, Claire Cooney.
It was a tough year.
Yeah,
actually.
it was a great year.
I didn't even write a speech. I was so sure Kelly Link was going to win. She's so awesome. Fangirl.
Well, yeah, but that's what one has to do. There are so many stories about people who all of a sudden are at the awards and realize something could go wrong and I could win. And then they win. Yeah. And they don't want to be left going, thank you.
Yes.
Or just, as one person I know who won a major award, and I won't spoil it for that person by saying, just got up on stage, accepted the award, and started blubbering. I got great photos, though.
But that's one for the books too, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It said it all. And between you, me, and the lamppost, I didn't think that person was going to win. And neither did that person. But it was that same year that Sam J. Miller was up for novel for the Shirley Jackson Award, which is given out at ReaderCon. And he was up against some major players and hitters and stuff like that. And there's no way that he could win. Now, if anybody's ever seen a Shirley Jackson Award, it looks like a jagged end of a glacier.
Huh.
It's got a sharp end. And I didn't attend the awards, but I saw Sam, or rather, I did, because I saw that incident, which was halfway in. But I missed the short story category, which is what Sam was up for. And I saw Sam, and I said, I'm so sorry, but it was such a great story. It was a light speed story, so I worked on it, on the audiobook version of it. And as I'm saying that, he's just looking at me, and something is poking me very, very sharp in the stomach, just like boing, 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 boing. And I look down, and it's his award. It's got nothing to do with anything pertinent this morning, but it's a fun story. And, oh yes, Sam. Oh, he already decided which month he's going to be reading at the New York Review of Science Fiction Readings.
Which month?
July.
July.
I gave him a choice of, do you want to do Gay Pride Month? Or do you want to do the month where your book is coming up? He went for his book, the commercial. I mean, how could you? How could you?
Because every month should be Gay Pride Month.
There is that. There is that. Exactly. But he likes the Q word. Which he and I love to talk about. Because I grew up in an era in which the word queer was a pejorative.
Mm-hmm. It has been reclaimed.
Yeah. I don't buy it.
No.
It can be we shouldn't have this long discussion now because I've done this frequently on the air, but my position is that it can be reclaimed by all the wrong people, especially in the world in which we live today.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, for example, a special word for my people, Jews, which starts with a K, that I would consider a curse word, that I would rather not use on the air. Even if I was to use one of the Carlin words, I wouldn't use this word. It's really, really nasty. Now, maybe the former JDL, the Jewish Defense League, or somebody can say, we've reclaimed that word. No. It's a word that was used to justify the death of millions of people, and including my family. Over 40 people in my family. And I don't want to reclaim it. I want it known that this is a word of abuse. And even if Jews were to reclaim that word, then somebody else will whisper that word quietly when somebody like Bernie Sanders would run for president, or another Jew, like Barry Goldwater or something like that, which, it will kill their campaigns. Black people and women, I think, can be elected before Jews for that high in office. I hope I'm wrong. But at any rate, I don't buy the reclaiming bit at all for any of those words. And people reclaimed the N word. But then they talk about you can't do Huckleberry Finn in school because of Jim. So when is a term actually reclaimed?
Well, I mean, it's not like, a word means one thing in one place for all time and translates perfectly through all those different contexts either. I mean, semiotics are slippery. And so to me, it's much more about context. We were even talking about that right before the show, about how we can say some of those words on the FCC list in certain kinds of contexts and not get you fined for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So I feel very powerful right now, by the way. I can wield thousands of dollars by just words that I say. Kind of fun. But the point is that, there are communities. So, I'm a professor in CUNY, and,
And you teach?
And I teach English, and I, wander the halls where I see, people who belong to certain communities feel very comfortable exchanging the N-word with each other, and it is definitely not the same as if, there was a white supremacist using the same word. And so there is most definitely a difference between those two that I would mark a distinction. And so to say that, the N-word is forbidden doesn't quite take in the complexity of how, context fits into the way language works. That's what I would
community.
say. Yeah, context, community, and so it's not a matter of sort of like.
But even in talking about it on, late night on a very left-wing radio station, we don't dare use the N-word.
Well, I wouldn't feel comfortable myself because I don't think I'm part of that community, and my context would be out of context.
Yeah, but you see what I mean about the K word.
Oh yeah, I mean, and again,
that's
that would
one
be
that
another one.
Thank God has not yet been breached or reclaimed. It really is verboten since the 40s.
Right. Yeah. and
the Ku Klux Klan,
And-
the other
and
K word.
So, but I think that you're marking a specific instance of a specific word in time, and that makes perfect sense. That maybe some words are, leaving our lexicon for very good reasons. But to me, I've known people who've used the word queer, in celebratory, exultant kinds of ways.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I don't want to take that away from them either.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And I can understand the claim, the understanding that the word gay tends to refer to homosexual white men, or actually homosexual men. So it therefore leaves out the L and the Q and the T and the X and all that. I like quilt bag, by the way. I think it's a wonderful term, and you can say it. The other one sounds like, a sandwich. Yeah, I'll have an LGBTQT on toast, please. Yes, thank you.
Well, I'm glad you said sandwich, because in my book that I'll be reading, sandwich is a pejorative term. So
Ooh.
we're going to discover it. So not to modulate right back into my book, but the one of the things that I found difficult about writing middle grade fiction, this is the first middle grade book that I've ever worked on, is the fact that I know middle schoolers curse like drunk truck drivers. Like, I know that they are swearing like poets, after they've hit the bar, and it's late at night and the moon is full and their hearts are full of poetry. This is how they curse. But you can't do that if you're writing for Disney Hyperion. So how do you create then, a language that makes sense? And I think, what I did is I invented a whole slew of other words that would serve in substitution.
Yeah, that's great.
I wanted to tell you, I was talking to my middle grade niece yesterday who adores Carlos, and she was telling me, she was playing Cards Against Humanity with her older sister, and her sister kept
dear.
looking at her and saying, "How do you know all this?" And Amelia said, "Because I listen." And then she was telling me how, because I accidentally cussed in front of her, and then she's like, oh, I've heard it. And then she told me a great story about Joel. But what I wanted to tell you was that in her circle, burnt pizza is a pejorative.
Burnt pizza?
You're such a burnt pizza. And I wanted to tell
I love it!
And it's her private friend group. She'd made a pizza. She says perfectly, golden brown, just like it says on the instructions. She brought it to a picnic, and her friends were like, "How can you eat that? It's burnt pizza." And so there were whole text wars on the fact that this pizza is not burnt. It was a perfect pizza. No, it was a burnt pizza. It was blackened and charred. And so now it comes up in context. It's like, don't be a burnt pizza.
Oh.
And that just reminded me of you, Carlos.
I love it so much. Oh, Amelia, I might be stealing from you. We'll talk.
So when the movie turns up on freeform television, Burnt Pizza, the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Amelia's fault.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. I finally came across a Disney show. It was still, now it's freeform, but it was the Disney Family Channel at the time that I discovered because I was in Mrs. Maisel withdrawal. I discovered the show Bunheads.
I do not know that show.
Do not know that show.
Okay, between the Golden Girls, Gilmore Girls, and the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Daniel and Amy Sherman Palladino did a show called Bunheads, starring Sutton Foster, who is, one of my favorite Broadway actresses and singers and tap dancers and all that of all time. I saw her on Broadway in Anything Goes, and oh my God, every single number she brought down the house. And then I saw her in the tiny little version of Sweet Charity, and that was off Broadway, but she won the Tony for the other, and she started on Broadway in Thoroughly Modern Millie, and she's genius. And her co-star was this woman, Kelly Bishop, who I'm just thinking, this is awfully familiar. Turns out she was Sheila, in the original Sheila, in the chorus line.
Oh.
And it's in Bunheads. I didn't know. I was aware the show was on 4 years ago, but the title was a turnoff. I didn't realize that means dancers. People who, they tie up their hair, they put in a little bun. They're Bunheads.
So it's a show about dancers.
It's a show about dancers and Sutton Foster, and no, I just said her, Kelly Bishop. Oh my God, are they dancers?
How wonderful.
Between Anything Goes and Chorus Line and all that, and it was just a very, very good comedy.
How many seasons did it run?
One. It wins the Firefly Award for shows that should not have been canceled, and it was canceled because it was just at the point that they were going from Disney Family Channel to Freeform. And so they were changing the structure, and it was gone. But if it hadn't been gone, we wouldn't have the marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Which is pretty marvelous.
It is. And Barbara got to be in episode 6.
My friend
Of the
Callie
second season.
Boldu got to be in... She was in the episode with the hair salon, and maybe another one that comes a little later in the season.
And
in season 2.
I've started doing background player work.
That's wonderful, Jim.
So I am going to be on Billions, which is starting its new season in a couple of weeks.
Huh. What are you doing?
A movie star.
I'm waiting for a bus and getting on the bus.
Excellent.
And I'm one of like 50 people, but I'm the first one. So I'm pretty sure that the camera will have my elbow or something.
Right.
Barbara is actually totally recognizable in Maisel. That
I saw your photo of it.
yes,
Yes.
Right.
yeah, and she, she made it into the final cut of the show. And John Ordover,
I was just gonna say he's part of the crew that's working the
deli.
The deli, yeah.
yeah,
exactly.
for the 1 week that it was open, and he just actually landed himself a speaking role.
Oh, no kidding.
And you're not allowed to say what it is, but it's okay. The name of the movie he's working on is Untitled Project.
Is his line, "These pretzels are making me thirsty"?
It's gonna be something like that. Yeah,
You're right.
It's an under 5. It's what they call an under 5, and I'm going to be doing something at the end of the month where I cannot say.
Oh, this is
On
exciting.
the air, it is.
NDAs are terrific. aren't they?
NDAs are wonderful, and the irony of the background player, they don't call them extras anymore. I'm going to do a whole show about background players. And
Do you get sandwiches as a background player?
you get catered food.
Oh, I was gonna say you that's what you get paid in, basically, right?
Well, no, you get money. You get serious money.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah,
I thought you just you just ate your weight in food and.
no, you do that as well.
Okay.
But you don't get the food that the stars get.
Ah.
Barbara did not get to eat what Tony Shalhoub was eating, and Paul Giamatti wasn't even, none of the stars were in the scene
Right.
I was doing, and in the scenes I've got a 3-day shoot at the end of this month, and I can't tell you who the stars are because that would give it away. But oh my God,
They book.
yeah, really, and
Tease. You're such a tease.
oh. I'll tell you off the air and off Facebook.
Oh dear. That's a tease within a tease. That's like Inception tease right there.
Yes,
I like it.
but I will say this: it's a hot enough thing that even though it's being filmed, it's got 4 different major lawsuits against it.
Oh, yeah.
That much I can say.
That
Oh, and
a
you
mark of
love
success.
to be in the thick of it, don't you?
Oh yeah,
It's very funny.
this one is good. I have to buy a business suit.
Oh.
I have to find out what it is that extras have to keep in their role, because I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting show up tomorrow with a business suit and a suitcase, a briefcase,
Right.
and it's like, is that expected? Wardrobe doesn't supply that, and not for extras. No.
Yeah, because they'd have to fit you and everything. Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they'll cut your hair, they'll shave you, they'll do any number of things, and they will say, no, try this jacket instead of the one you're wearing. In the scene I did for that TV series, I was just wearing a casual jacket, and it was too upscale for them. They wanted me to look downscale. so they gave me a crappy jacket
Yeah.
on a rainy day.
That smelled of wee.
Well,
Yes,
both of them did. You
That
just gave me a-
it
I was just
It
quoting.
would've-
I was just quoting your favorite novel. I Shall Wear Midnight.
oh yes,
Several times there are jackets that smell of wee.
it's my favorite Pratchett novel. Not my
Favorite-
favorite novel.
Pratchett novel. Forgive
Yeah.
me.
And do I have a favorite novel? Do you have a favorite novel?
I have like 10 of them.
I have,
You have
know,
at least 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've got 10.
Yeah, Brothers Karamazov,
Yeah.
Chef Kiss.
Okay.
It's Cavalier and Clay. Is
Yeah, The
his...
Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay.
I don't know that.
Okay.
Oh my goodness!
I'm going to make you a present. I'm going to buy you a copy of this.
No need. Just tell me. the
Michael
name.
Chabon, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay.
Okay.
Have you read the Yiddish Policeman's
Of
Union?
oh, please.
Okay.
I am so annoyed that the movie isn't being made. The Coen
Oh.
brothers bought the movie.
They would do such
They-
a good job with that.
Like the day before it was up for the Pulitzer, they bought the movie and they haven't made it. They may have written it. I don't know.
Did Cavalier and Clay win the Pulitzer though?
Yeah, the Cavalier and Clay won the Pulitzer. And is
Yiddish.
that the one that? Yeah, Yiddish Policeman used it. I didn't know that was.
Maybe
not.
those are runner-up.
Yeah, it might have, but definitely. I mean, I'm saying definitely now, and fact
Okay.
check me, all the world, but pretty sure.
No,
yeah, because I saw him at the New York
As
Public
a press
Library.
person with a radio show,
Yeah.
I get books free.
Yeah. Okay. So
You have to
I
read
don't get
Cavalier and
I don't
Clay.
get paid to do this, but I get movies, I get shows, I get books.
do they
Right.
cater? Well, actually, we saw the catering. There's like a fax machine and a Keurig machine. I think that's the extent. of it.
Here?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
I am kidding you. I'm
Well,
literally kidding
Well,
you. yes.
actually, in a way,
Right now.
yes. We have the Commons Cafe on the ground floor.
Right? That's true.
You know,
We did
and
get French fries for free tonight.
Well, we did, but
You
we're the
did.
talent. We're like the Tony Shalhoub of this scenario.
that's absolutely correct.
We did. We got the French
We got
fries. They were really
shaloobed.
good French fries.
You got shaloobed. Indeed. Is
I think that's on the FCC.
now
forbidden
are you
list, but-
talking Monk Shaloub? Are you talking the band's Visit Shaloub?
Which one had the best catering? That's the one I'm talking about.
How many shaloobs can we get?
Oh dear.
Probably Monk. It
Now
went
you're
for
flirting
8
with me.
seasons.
Good doing.
Oh man, Monk.
Oh, it's fun. I thought it became repetitive. He
I
was
only
always
saw a few episodes of the first, but I would just watch it just for him.
good. Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
That was the charm of the show. You weren't really you don't watch Murder She Wrote for the mystery. You watch it for Angela Lansbury.
Oh,
you
and
watch Monk.
That patronizing glance you would give at the end, going, "Ugh, how could you commit this murder?" Just like, oh, that patronizing, Angela
Matronizing.
or matronizing, yeah, even better.
Yes.
Just every time how she closed her eyes, ugh, how could this happen?
And anything with Angela Lansbury, including Mary Poppins Returns,
Oh, okay.
in which she's wonderful.
She is in it. I didn't know that. See now,
Oops.
all the things.
Spoilers,
I love
sorry.
spoilers. I call them spicers. But yeah, I didn't know that. That makes it
Major cameo. She is the balloon lady who is a recurring character in the Mary Poppins books.
She's the balloon lady. My Mrs. Lovett, and she's the balloon lady.
The
Don't buy balloons from that woman.
I can. And she is the Mrs. Lovett.
Oh man.
Although I saw the second best Mrs. Lovett ever.
Of course.
She only did 4 performances. Was Emma Thompson.
Really? Okay.
How wonderful she would have been.
Yeah. No. Oh yes, it's available.
Where?
Something called PBS.
So, but that means I could stream it.
Yeah, but for a lot of money through the Broadway HD channel.
Maybe it would be worth it.
But it is. Or if you know anybody who has a copy, you could possibly find it that way. But and the Sweeney was Bryn Terfel.
I don't know Bryn
I
Terfel.
know he's like
Okay.
a famous singer. Wasn't he famous for Fiddler on the Roof?
No,
No.
he's
Why do I know his
he's
name?
Welsh because he's the most famous opera singer in the world.
Yeah. I know, but I don't. I'm trying to he is a famous opera singer, but I know him from a specific thing, and I'm trying to figure out which opera I heard about him. where I would have come across his name, because I don't know opera very well.
Well, I mean, he's at the Met all the time. Actually, we saw this in Philharmonic Hall. Okay, I'll tell 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. It comes out. It's a concert performance, and Emma Thompson, who knew she could sing, actually, her very first major role was in the musical Me and My Girl. So she started out as a musical comedy star before she became the definitive Jane Austen Sense and Sensibility author and heroine and everything else that she is. But yes, she can sing. She can sing Sondheim. Oh my God. And she can act the part so well. Very, very different than Angela Lansbury.
I bet she'd be terrifying, much scarier than Angela Lansbury, who's beautifully cartoonish, and her cartoon is frightening, the way a cartoon can be frightening, but Emma Thompson always makes it very real, and that's a different kind of fear.
Lansbury did like the perfect pantomime, Mrs. Lovett. Very music hall and menacing, where Emma Thompson was like, oh my she was scary. And Bryn Terfel is a large man. He usually plays gods, like in The Ring Cycle. Or
I usually play gods. What a thing to say in one's life.
Well, when one of your major roles is Wotan in the complete Ring Cycle, yes, he plays the head of the gods who destroys Valhalla and all that good stuff. So like 3 days beforehand, I saw, oh my God, look, they're doing a Sweeney Todd at Lincoln Center, and well, it'll be sold out. There were 2 seats. On discount.
That's great.
We bought them.
What
we
luck.
went. And the people come out on stage, and then Emma Thompson and Bryn Terfel come out on stage, and all that, and the music, the grand music, with the Philharmonic, not just some blah blah Broadway
Not
orchestra.
some dinky little Broadway
Not
orchestra.
well,
Philharmonic, man.
hey, a Broadway orchestra is 25 pieces. The Philharmonic is about 140. There's with full chorus of about 30 singers in the background. Boom. And when that fog whistle goes off, you're like over the balcony. It's amazing. And so they start, and then there comes a point in the music where they pause, and Bryn Terfel looks at one of the lesser players and just sort of snarls. And he takes his music script and he throws it to the floor.
Ha.
And then Emma Thompson looks at him and sniffs, and she knocks over her music stand. And then each of the other principals start moving around the stage, ripping apart all of the background of Philharmonic Hall, turning it into a set of Victorian slum London.
That's interesting. Like a deconstruction as a reconstruction.
Yeah, and then total blocking, total staging as a concert performance. I mean, G, you know. And at the end of the thing, you know, first they bring out the director, that's nice, and they bring on Sondheim. It was like a perfect performance. It really was. Yes, I have a copy.
Thank you. Thank you in advance.
She loves Sweeney Todd, seriously. You just went up
okay,
3
you know what?
levels. So.
You guys, you come over to our house. I'll cook.
Cool.
And you've not been to our house.
I meant
you
to make it.
You miss our parties every year.
I'm not good at parties, and I always mean to, but then when there's 2 or 3 parties in the same week, I get very tired.
Yeah, well, 2 days before Christmas, but hey, what the hell. It was good. It was good this year. And I do all the cooking. No, Barbara and I do all the cooking. Barbara has become a major force in the cooking.
Do you have a specialty?
Yes. I have a vegetarian lasagna, a portobello spinach lasagna that satisfies all the vegetarians in the crew.
I
and
eat
then
that.
my side dishes are meat.
We'd all eat that.
Yeah, so
Let's do that.
So and then I have a kasha pilaf for the vegans. So my main dishes are vegetarian. All my side dishes are. I do smoked paprika chicken wing. I do meatballs. I do chicken chunks. My own.
Chicken chunks.
Yeah. Yep.
Chicken chunks.
Yep.
Yep. Chicken
Yeah.
chunks.
I cheated this year. I bought the sauce. I didn't make the marinara. I bought it.
Sometimes that happens,
I
man.
bet your guest forgave you.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote on the menu. I actually put up a menu because I want people to know all the ingredients.
Right.
The kasha's for the gluten-free crew. That's what it is. Exactly. So yeah, I cook well. And we can do that, and I'll make us meat pies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes,
We can-
I heard.
I've
these-
never made a meat pie.
Oh, but the internet will help you.
No,
Oh, yeah, well, yes.
and a meat pie is a very forgiving sort of animal. So yeah,
As,
it's only-
as it were.
Sort of dead animal,
yeah, you know.
full of human meat.
So what we should
Try the priest.
So what we should probably do is change course, play a cut of music, come back, and you guys should read.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
And yeah, so hold on, and yeah, let me just. Yeah,
Hernandez, do you want to
I
go
have to.
first?
I have to find.
I'm just beatboxing to fill the dead air.
Yeah. You can do that. No, no.
You wrote a line today about beatboxers
Really?
I did, yes.
and pistachios and a
Yeah.
donkey, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, all of that in one sentence. That is correct. I'm working on book 2 right now.
Oh,
Some
all
of
right.
that, so-
Yeah, and yeah, we will have to hear about that in just a couple of minutes. But we are about to take a break, and we will be back in 6 minutes. So stay tuned.
That's all very well, but what are we going to do about the Italian?
Yes!
Later on,
When it's dark,
when it's dark, we'll take him out of the trunk and
bury him.
Well, yes, of
See,
course.
and that's the beauty of using a streaming service for your music.
Exactly, you can instantly find the thing.
Yeah.
Well, you know me.
Bright ideas just pop into my head.
Oh,
I
but-
keep thinking.
The way Thompson played this.
Shame. It's an awful moment. I mean, she pushes him over the edge. She's really the real villain, you know, and I love that about her.
Yeah, she's the.
Yeah.
She's
It's
the
a
lady.
perfect loop of villainy going
Yeah,
on.
because she wants to hide the whole fact of Lucy. Which Angela Lansbury is like, oh, you didn't want her. But Emma Thompson was doing it on purpose. Emma Thompson. Now, I also saw Lupone.
I mean,
No.
You just don't like
No. But it's not just that I don't like her, it's that I have given her a chance to do all these definitive roles, whether it's Mama Rose and Gypsy.
And her pussy's good for maybe 6 or 7 at the most. And I'm sure they count them there as far as 10.
Mrs. Lovett, what a charming notion.
And practical and appropriate as always. Mrs. Lovett,
How they live without you.
Always use an arrow.
how that's a left lots of other gentlemen will think the cabin for a shame. What they think of all their pies.
Around Halloween time, when I usually do music mix, I segue from this to Feed Me from Little Shop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's perfect. Like, what would a food
I do a whole
flavor sound like?
cannibalism
Oh, it's perfect.
mix, and
Desperate times, Mrs. Lovett, and desperate measures must be taken.
Indiana, hot out of the
but then we saw the same production without Lupone. Judy Kuhn, the stand-in, did the role, and she was brilliant. That was the weird production in which people carried their own instruments.
I know, I heard that. I heard that was wonderful too.
Yeah, there's another one that's currently off Broadway where the gimmick is they do serve meat pies.
We had tickets for that.
We did. We had to.
We were ill, weren't we?
I've heard that that is a lot of fun, but it's not great.
Okay.
You know, as a Sweeney Todd.
Heavenly. Not as high.
I'm in it for the fun too, you know?
Yeah, if you're a fan, as we all are, it's probably worth seeing.
Yeah.
But it's $100 a ticket, you know, for an off Broadway show.
If it's for a price.
Or does something else go to follow, since no one should swallow it twice?
Have you any tea?
No, but if you're British and loyal, you might enjoy
Royal Marine.
Anyway, it's clean. So of course it tastes of wherever it's been.
Is that squire on the fire?
And by the way, if there is the worst version of this,
Looks thicker.
it's the movie.
More like thicker.
The one that's not the musical?
It's green.
No, I mean the musical.
Johnny Depp.
The Tim Burton film.
I saw a movie of Sweeney Todd that was not the musical. And
There are
it had,
three.
And it had that guy with the Tim, was it Tucci? Stanley Tucci?
Serving
really?
Yes.
I love Stanley.
I generally love him, but I didn't like
No,
the
this
movie.
it wasn't very good, but I liked Bessie Davis as Mrs. Lovett from Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. She was Mrs. Lovett.
Oh, that was way before I knew who she was. That's interesting. Makes me want to see it a little bit more.
That came after.
I remember, like, it was not compelling enough to. They were just pure villains. There was,
Yeah.
And when you're used to Sondheim, who turns a villain into your hero, or like the person that you're in sympathy with, whether or not there's the hero is different than your protagonist.
The anti-hero.
Yeah.
But
Then you don't want to see like no Sweeney Todd is going to, unless you love him and there's sympathy with him, he's just kind of boring. He's just like another psychopath. Beetle isn't bad till you smell it and notice how well it's been greased. Stick to greased. Len.
Now this might be a bit stringy, but then of course it's a fiddle player.
But this is like a music hall number. And did you see it with Lansbury?
I mean, with Lansbury and George Hearn is the one I grew up on.
Oh, you mean the film they made of the Florida road company?
I grew up in Phoenix. Nothing you've seen have I seen. Just know that about me.
Okay, no, I saw it on Broadway 3 times.
Yes, I know that about you.
But rush tickets.
Yeah,
Not great seats, but
but you gotta see it.
But fortunately, it's also
I could go to the theater and watch Angela Lansbury live doing it. And, you know, in the film's production of that production, at the end, he's supposed to rise from hell.
I am clumping down the hall now.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Like a clump of grass, as it were.
The fax machine, will you?
It's finest in the shop. And we have some shepherd's pie peppered with actual shepherd on top. And I've just begun. He's a politician.
This could only have been written by a guy who writes crossword puzzles.
That's really funny. Is he famous for crossword puzzles?
Oh yes, double cross sticks. I mean, he does the most intricate ones.
That is cool. I mean, he's
Ever
such
see
a
the movie
word.
The Last of Sheila?
yes,
The Last of Sheila. It's not a musical. It's a movie written by Sondheim and Anthony Perkins,
Huh. Okay.
starring James Coburn and Angela Lansbury and James Mason and Richard Benjamin. And it's very Agatha Christie. And again, it's all about word puns and puzzles.
This song is just such a work of genius, you know, when it comes to work.
Stand by. And you are tuned welcome to listener-sponsored, non-commercial Pacifica Radio, New York City, WBAI at 99.5 FM, where we can say, no one's going to harm you, not while I'm around. This is Hour of the Wolf. My name is Jim Freund. You are obviously listening to the Act 1 finale of the original Sweeney Todd, starring Len Cariou and the wonderful balloon lady, Angela Lansbury. And, yeah, she's one of the 2 cameos. 3 cameos. There's Dick Van Dyke, of course. And, well, what can we say? We're all apparently huge Sweeney Todd fans. We're all Sondheim fans. But above Sondheim, there's Sweeney Todd. There's that level that one has to get to. So, our guests this morning, CSE Cooney, a.k.a. Claire, and Carlos Hernandez. And we are actually, we've been having a wonderful time on the air, but we talk about the fact that you're both writers, and Claire is also a professional narrator with Tantor, what's the last?
Tantor Audio?
Tantor Audio. It helps when I turn your mic on.
Tantor Audio.
Yeah, so much better. Tantor Audio, where you do lots of audiobooks.
Almost 100 now. I'm at 96, I think.
Wow!
Oh, I thought it was 97.
It could be 97. The one I just did, yeah, but I just did 2. So I don't know. I haven't counted recently.
I've produced 2. But I'm very proud of them, damn it. And one of them is me. One of them is, well, not an audio book, but might as well be. It's a collection of interviews.
Oh, cool.
It's called Chatting Science Fiction, available from Blackstone.
Oh, I like Blackstone. So the man who runs Blackstone, who's named Grover Gardner.
Yes.
So he narrates all the Bujold books, and he's so good, and I love them. That's all I have to say.
Yeah,
about that.
I work with, as through Lightspeed and Nightmare, I work with Skyboat Media, and they work through Blackstone.
Do you know Grover Gardner?
No.
Okay.
No,
Dang.
I know Stefan Rudnicki and Gabrielle DeCure, who know Mr. Gardner. And
So just 1 degree of separation.
well, I propose projects and he greenlights them or not. But I haven't proposed any in a little while. Mm-hmm. I actually have 2 things in mind that I will be putting forth soon. But so far, I've been turned down on 1 of the 3 things that I've proposed, and the other one I did was Elysium by Jennifer Marie Brissett.
Yeah. Jen's great book. We both read that.
Yes,
I loved it.
she's wonderful.
Yeah, she's shopping the sequel around. I think she actually found a publisher for
Oh,
it.
that is such good news.
I think. If not, she's found an agent
Okay.
to help her do that. Aqueduct Press, that was the other company that I couldn't think of earlier, and they published Elysium.
They're a great press.
And I produced the audiobook. I got Stefan to hire the narrator. I chose the narrator, and I chose the director, Claire Bloom Benedek. You can take that name for all it's worth. And then I did the editing and special effects. There are several because it takes place in cyberspace. So there are things you have to do to get past like 5 pages of just numeric jumbles. How do you do that in an audiobook? So I have a huge love for, well, we were doing audiobooks here at WBAI before the word existed. In 1970, we did Moby Dick.
How wonderful.
In 1971, we did War and Peace. And our very first reader was Alexandra Tolstoy.
Wow. What a agreed past you've had.
Yes, absolutely. I did not do any of this.
Well,
but
WBAI.
I've been a witness to it. Mm-hmm. And being a witness to great things like that, to other 2 readers on that production, Abby Hoffman and William F. Buckley.
Oh my God!
Just to give you, both of whom I had shows here. Both of whom both of whom I engineered, but then I became business partners with Abby. And oh God, that's a whole other show. Ooh. Nightmarish show.
Yeah.
Fun, but nightmarish. So, where do we go from here? You're each going to read, right?
Yes.
Who's on first? What's on second?
Well,
Ooh.
Sorry.
Carlos's book is coming out first on March 5th, and mine is coming out in mid-July. It's a novella with Tor.com, and his is coming, of course, with Disney Hyperion. Do you want to do in order that it comes out? Mine's longer than yours. Yours is funnier than mine. You're always good to end, but you're a great beginner. I don't know.
Yeah, I will choose. Okay, the same way when you guys did the family reading at New York Review of Science Fiction, you opened with serious. Usually, the second thing should be shorter than the first.
Yes,
But it's better to end on a laugh.
that's him then.
Yeah, I'm both shorter and
we're
And full of chickens.
and full of so that determines. Do you have a preferred outro song, or will I choose? Oh! I know.
I know, we know, right?
I know which it will be.
Okay, yes.
Okay, yes. Cut number 6.
Is that Coochie?
No.
Oh, you could do whatever. Carlos had suggested
Yeah,
Medusa.
but he likes number 6. So
Oh no! That's okay. That's okay. Coochie is number 3.
Okay.
We'll go.
Should we explain to our listeners what this whole conversation is about, or just let them take it?
Take it.
Okay.
No,
Take it.
we'll explain it after we play
I
cut number
understand.
3.
Radio, it's a mystery.
It is. It is. So, in that case, Claire, the mic is yours. Is there anything we need to know about this before we go delve into it?
I will start at the beginning. So hopefully,
A very good place. No, I got musicals permeating me now. Oy.
so this is called Desdemona and the Deep, Part 1. A benefit for the factory girls with Fossy Jaw. 4 stories above the grand foyer of the Seafall City Opera House. Each painted panel in the barrel-vaulted ceiling depicted a scene from one of the 3 worlds. Which world it happened to be depended on the tint and tone of the panel. Daylight was for Aeth, the world of mortals. Twilight represented the Valwoad, where the gentry dwelled, and midnight belonged to Bana the Bone Kingdom, home to all the kobold kin. Through these wheeling coffers of world skies, day dancing into dusk, dusk swirling into night, night into day again, cavorted the bright-winged, the beautiful, the bizarre. In that ceiling, at least, human and gentry and goblin all intermingled together, like they had in olden days, before the doors between worlds were barred and the boundaries set. At the center of the ceiling, like the pistil of the 3-petaled world flower, bristled a recently installed chandelier, an armillary sphere barbed with crystals, brass processes, and electric bulbs. It had been designed, ostensibly, to lull music lovers into a belief in a more orderly, benign, and attentive cosmos than evidence endorsed. Standing precisely beneath it, a very short woman. Her gown bore more rosettes and plumes than a parade float. The satin sash across her chest read, "Strike the match." She had a round, rust-brown face, ironed spirals of hair cropped close to her skull, and black eyes lamp-bright. She wore on her brow a corona radiata of shining platinum. No mistake this woman had chosen for herself the spiked crown of heroes and deities. She wished to set an example for the gathered crowd. Heroes gave everything, and deities rewarded self-immolation with immortality. "Good evening, friends and sisters!" Her voice was a one-woman brass section, as cheerful and relentless as reveille, complemented by the chime of her spoon against a champagne glass. "Good evening!" 254 women fell into an obedient hush. They rustled and rooshed together at the foot of the ceremonial staircase. "Let me begin," said the woman, "by thanking the Seafall City Opera House for so generously donating their grand foyer this evening. What a beautiful space for our beautiful cause." Her gloved palms initiated the applause, each muted thunderclap, sweeping the room with a new flash flood of enthusiasm. "Next," she continued, but no less important, "let me thank you all so very much, my dear friends, for supporting our first annual Factory Girls with Fossy Jaw charity fundraiser. So far, it has been a wild success." The answering applause lasted longer and was even more ebullient. The women, her women, had labored tirelessly, lobbied endlessly, and spent lavishly to make this night possible. Now dressed in their finest, approved by their peers, buoyed by champagne and the glow of good work well done, they were prepared to commend themselves for it. Against the back wall of the foyer, facing the ceremonial staircase, silent auction tables displayed their wares. As bebannered, berosetted, and beplumed as the mistress of ceremonies, they flaunted on fine linens the wealth of a queen's treasure house, basalt busts that bore the gravitas of deep antiquity, art jewelry from the museum collection, original paintings, travel vouchers, and baskets sporting rare vintages and costly cheeses sealed in red wax. Over all the tables presided a tall, youngish woman, who bore little resemblance to the woman addressing the crowd, except perhaps in a certain stubbornness of jaw. She watched her mother, with an expression borrowed from her father's face, boredom, a hint of disdain, barely disguised exasperation. But something else flickered in her black eyes, an admiration so fierce it danced on the barbed wire wall between resentment and worship. "How," asked a voice from behind her, "can it be an annual fundraiser if it's the first?" The woman twitched a bare shoulder, the exact shade of the bronze silk taffeta she wore. "Shut up, Chaz." "I was only asking," Chaz replied, affable and wounded. "I am not speaking to you." "You are, though, Des," he argued. "You just said, 'I am never speaking to you again.'" Lifting her chin but still not looking at him, Desdemona Mannering contradicted her dictum immediately. "You are 3 hours late, Charles Abelard Mallister. We had plans." Mrs. Tracy Mannering, Mission Advancement Director for the Factory Girls with Fossy Jaw Charity, mistress of this evening's ceremonies, and Desdemona's mother, had personally assigned her daughter to oversee the silent auction tables that night. She had assumed that Desdemona would be delighted. So commanding, so inexorable, and manufactured of such titanium goodwill were Mrs. Mannering's assumptions, that when Desdemona received her invitation to the benefit, along with a full-duty roster, she had little choice but to agree to work the tables. But if Desdemona knew one thing, it was this. If misery loves company, malice adores it. Aping her mother's style, she informed her best friend that he, too, would be dishing out auction items by the silver platterful at her mother's Fossy Gal's Follies, as she put it. What's more, she'd added, with a burst of inspiration, he would be doing it on travesty in a gown of his choice. It would not be the first time Chaz attended an event costumed like a woman. He occasionally wore gowns out to nightclubs, quite often to private parties, and always whenever spending an evening alone with Desdemona. But so far he had never worn one of his gowns to any function coordinated by the hoity-toity aunties of high society. Whether this was out of shyness or dread, Desdemona could not tell, and had never asked. But she thought it high time Chaz outshone them at their own game. When he'd protested, she'd simply scoffed. Those clucks, she'd said, wouldn't care if Chaz showed up in the scud and suspended by his piercings from the chandelier so long as he helped generate funds for their precious cause. This, therefore, was her dare. They would each dress each other. They would each dress in a bespoke gown by their favorite couture designer. Desdemona's by Hernandez, Chaz's by Manu Lirhu. At the auction tables, they would give bidders a chance to vote on whose ensemble was the more spectacular. The loser would donate the worth of their gown to the Factory Girls with Fossy Jaw Charity. The winner would buy the loser a drink of their choice the moment they were emancipated from their offices. Reluctantly, Chaz had agreed. But he soon grew enthusiastic. For months now they had been planning their gowns, meeting in secret with their designers, and obsessing over minutiae, each boasting how entirely they would cast the other under their glittering shadow. And then, after all that, Chaz had not materialized. Not till now, anyway, when Desdemona's duties were all but done. An awful night it had been, too. She had thought she would be bored. Instead, Desdemona felt scraped raw, with a headache behind her eyes and at the back of her neck. Her mother was a loudmouth, a scab-ripper, a visionary. Tracy Mannering did not care to wrap fine lace around decay. She wanted everyone to see the purulence. And now Desdemona would never be able to unsee it. Across the foyer, Mrs. Mannering's trumpeting tones sobered to a deeper bassoon. As you know, Seafall's most intrepid young journalist, Salice de Maguiba, wrote a fearless expose last year on the insalubrious conditions these young women daily endure in their work environment. It provoked such outrage among our community that I, with my dear friend and colleague Audrey Alderwood, organized the Southern Larissa Convention respecting the prohibition of white phosphorus in matches. What a button popper! Chaz's clove-sweet breath tickled Desdemona's ear. Don't her secretaries edit her speeches? No one edits, Mother. Mrs. Mannering's speech rolled on. All proceeds from your generous donations shall go toward the construction of a new ward at the Seafall City Working Women's Almshouse. She paused for more applause. The ward will be dedicated entirely to the treatment of girls suffering from repeated close contact with the poisonous fumes of white phosphorus. Now, without further ado, spreading her powdered arms, she embraced the whole room and all the beaded chiffon, embroidered velvet, winking sequins, and fluttering fans. It is my honor to introduce to you the most scintillating stars of this evening, the young women of Albright Match Factory. One floor above the crowd, from doorways dotting the mezzanine, the Fosse gals trooped out. As drilled by their hostess, they processed stiffly down the bifurcated staircase. The line leaders stopped on the penultimate step above the smooth tile at the center landing. The others paused behind them. Suspended in motion, hands resting on the marble banisters, these jaded and decaying flowers peered out from their tiered garden to meet the gazes of their benefactresses below. Desdemona was too far away to perceive details, but thanks to Mrs. Mannering having foisted their acquaintance upon her earlier in the green room, she could imagine them clearly, their faces twisted by osteonecrosis, the stench of infection rising from their abscesses, swollen joints, collapsed jaws, exposed bone, barren eyes. Some wore neck and back braces to bear up their frames, because their disintegrating skeletons could no longer do so, very like, and also horribly unlike, the gilded caryatids of the Seafall City Opera House, which looked decorative, but carried the weight of the painted roof upon their naked golden shoulders. The Fosse gals ranged from mid-teens to mid-20s, the oldest being about 27, Desdemona's own age, though years of factory work had so hagged the gal that she seemed a veritable goblin crone, fit only for boiling babies and picking her teeth with their bones. All the young women had been putting in 10-hour workdays at Albright Match Factory as mixers, dippers, and boxers for the better part of a decade. After an appreciable hush, Mrs. Mannering ascended the green marble staircase. Once more she took center stage right in the middle of the landing and began introducing each of the young women by name. The Fosse gals plastered on choreographed smiles that showed more hole than teeth, and resumed their slow descent down the ceremonial staircase. When they reached the center landing, their two lines interweaved to form a single file behind their hostess, and at her signal they followed her, some resignedly, some defiantly, to the ground floor of the grand foyer, where philanthropists, politicians, and journalists waited to mingle with them. The cost of a more comfortable death, Chaz murmured, is dignity. Desdemona tossed her head. What about any of this do you find undignified? This is probably the grandest night of their lives. Earrings chiming expensively, she confided. Mother agonized for weeks over whether it would be more shocking to parade her product line of Fosse gals in ordinary homespun, or drape them in diamonds and accentuate their deformities with lipstick. I advised the latter. If you ever throw me a ball to honor the half of my face eaten up by a tumor, don't let homespun within a mile of me. Aunt Audrey backed me. She wanted press coverage, photographers, possibly a riot. She shrugged. People like diamonds. They're dignified. It's a dime museum display, Chaz countered flatly. Desdemona sniffed. They'll overfund by the end of the evening. Chaz's silence grew pointed enough to conduct symphonies, but because he refrained from indicating the obvious, that he recognized every single one of the gowns those girls were wearing, Desdemona decided not to claw his eyes out. She had been too embarrassed to confess any time these last months that she, at her mother's instigation, of course, had loaned 12 and a half of her old gowns to be taken in, hemmed, mended, and otherwise spruced up for the Fossy gal's follies, who loaned, as if she'd ever wear them again after tonight. She was sick of looking at them. No matter where they were in the crowd or how often they moved, her eye was drawn unerringly to what had belonged to her. Those familiar shimmers of silk, flappings of fringe, twinkles of beadwork, graceful folds of velvet. What did they feel like now on those bodies? Especially that hag, her age double, with her black hair done up in a voluptuous bouffant, just as Desdemona's was? No, she wouldn't look any more. And that's all I'll do today, I think.
Okay. So, I wasn't prepared for it to end right there. So, normally I would have just faded out your microphone and gone to kind of music like, this.
Yes. Why'd you stop? Why'd you stop?
Because it would go to a different section and it would take another 15 minutes.
I don't know. I thought we had time.
Some girls like their apples cold, tossed beneath their feet. Me, I like to turn to stone if stones could feel heat. So coochie, coochie, baby, Medusa, you're a prize. Come and scratch this itch I got here, look into my eyes. Helen ain't got nothing, Aphrodite
Who's on bass?
pays.
Jack Hanlon.
It's good.
He's really good. Used to be part of the Hornets.
Ah!
He's played all over.
I got this thing for Gorgons, darling,
Yeah,
makes
that
me
sounds
rock
great.
and reel. So coochie, coochie, baby, Medusa, you're a prize.
And who produced this?
Come and scratch this itch I got here, look
Kensia,
into my
friend of mine.
eyes. They tell me how it's dire, looking like you do. Better fire the flame and fire than sing these Gorgon blues. Every time I look at you, I'm pretty sure I die. Andromeda, you know her chains never caught my eye. So coochie, coochie, baby, Medusa, you're a prize. Come and scratch this itch I got here, look into my eyes.
My favorite part's coming up with the bass.
Little downbeat there. It's good stuff.
Your daddy was a danger hidden in the deep. Your mama was a monster, baby, made those heroes weep. So here's my mirrored shield, my winged sandals too. Take my helmet, honey, 'cause I wanna look at you. Coochie, coochie, baby, Medusa, you're a prize. Come and scratch this itch I got here, look into my eyes. Coochie, coochie, baby, Medusa, you're a prize. Come and scratch this itch I got here right between my thighs. Coochie, coochie, baby, Medusa, you're a prize. Come and scratch this itch I got here, look into my eyes.
You're so hot.
Stand by. And some unknown band called Brimstone Rhine.
Carlos knows that band.
Yeah.
Carlos did backup vocals.
In the second EP, he did.
I did.
Yeah.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
In the second, is that the one I'm holding?
So there were 2 digital EPs, and the second one, The Headless Bride, was it was produced, like, I collaborated with different musicians and was produced by different people. Then we took both EPs and it was a backer level.
Oh, this is like the whole LP
Yeah,
as
then we
opposed to
did
the EP.
And so they're like part 1 and part 2 are very distinct from each other. They're not the same kinds of music. They're, like the first 8 songs are all a concept of mythological
It's a
women.
cycle, yeah.
Yeah, and the second is just a different, sort of like a Nightmare Circus, but it's a different thing.
Yeah. So, who am Brimstone Rhine?
He's
Anyway?
just sweet. He's just sweet. So I had a weird dream one day that there was a rock star named Brimstone Rhine, and she was really funny. And she put out. I mean, she was not. She was not funny. People thought she was funny. She took herself very seriously, and she wore pink Superman underwear and a glitter veil all the time and looked very fierce. And people called her the Headless Bride, so she defied them and wrote an EP called The Headless Bride. And I woke up, I was like, Brimstone Rhine, the Headless Bride. My brain gave that to me as a present, and it so rarely does that. And so I wrote a fake EP called The Headless Bride just because I thought it was funny. And then I wrote another one called Electo because it was even funnier. And then I thought, these are the... they're
So
not...
this is like an ace double of music.
Yeah, and then I crowdfunded for them, never having done anything of the sort before, having written music or herded musicians or any of that. So it was my first attempt, and it's not terrible. There's some good stuff there.
It's great
It's
stuff.
very Jejune, but I like it.
Jejune. No.
Oh, young. I don't know. The first thing. I think Jejune is like juvenile or...
Yeah, but in a very pejorative way. It's not that at all. That song is great. I love Coochie Coochie Baby.
And the Electo is fun because every single song is about a different Greek myth, or like Lysistrata, Strut Your Stuff. It's not a Greek myth, but it's a play. And what the fun part is that every song is a different style of music. So Coochie Coochie is obviously blues, and then there's a waltz. Medea's Dragon is a waltz.
This
Dido,
boogie woogie is what Coochie Coochie really is.
Boogie Woogie.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's many...
Woogie Woogie, if you prefer.
I don't have a preference because I was just sort of was doing a more general thing. I don't even know enough about music to tell you what my own
It's
music
like,
is.
oh yeah, it's Boogie Woogie, man, yeah.
Well, but you did like a calypso called Calypso.
Oh yeah, Calypso's Calypso. I listen to a bunch of Calypso music. Lysistrata is lit hop. Lysistrata, Strut Your Stuff.
What would you call Circe?
Circe is sort of like, I don't know, like space music.
Yeah, it's like ambient dread pop,
I don't
which
know.
I just invented, but
Ambient dread pop. But Circe is some of my favorite lyrics,
Oh, I
but
love
it's
Circe
very
too.
bizarre.
Just sung in a high acapella, almost acapella,
Yeah. Anyway, so it was a fun project.
Yeah. Any thoughts for a future?
So Amal and Caitlin and I had collaborated on.
Who are Amal and Caitlin?
Oh, Amal El-Mokhtar and Caitlin Paxson are writers as well as I. We were all writers and poets together, and they're both musicians as well. And we had collaborated several years ago on the Banjo Apocalypse Crinoline Troubadours, as we called ourselves as a group. We wrote the Ballads from a Distant Star, which is, basically if miners from Virginia in the 19th century had been body snatched by aliens and sent to mine on a distant planet, how would their own kind of stories and ballads have been warped by that space abduction and the journey and the way they changed and their generations changed on the planet. So there's some of them really quite good, and I think we could write more. I don't know how much interest we all have to doing it together, but they have both given me their blessing and permission. Like Amal will sing with me on it, and my brother would collaborate, and our friend Stefan Dolak, my brother Jeremy and Stefan collaborated with me on the last album, Corbeau Blanc, Corbeau Noir, and they between them they have a mountain of instruments and are insanely talented. So I think that's my next project, probably crowdfunded for sometime this year. I'm just taking my time.
So between writing a novel, writing short stories, narrating audio books in Connecticut, no less, living in Queens.
Yeah, I have a lot of commuting and a lot of reading to do.
And singing.
And I love to sing. That's just pure. I mean, like, if anything, it's the hobby that, that like I call the Brimstone Rhine, so it's kind of like my secret. It's an open secret. Everybody knows, but I think of it in my head as like, if I write a song, it's my secret. It's my pleasure. It's like not for anybody. And if I put it out, I don't, like, it'll never quite make money. Do you know, like, and very few people will hear it, but it's still pleasurable to do it as a project.
Yeah.
A hobby is like something you spend more money on and make back from it, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of how the government defines it, right? Like they
yeah,
talk about,
it is.
Like
yeah, they consider work here a hobby. I consider my work here professional.
Sure.
So, I can be hired and fired. I don't get paid. It costs me cab fare or whatever to come here and do the show.
Huh.
But it's unpaid work. It is not a hobby.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Much more a vocation. I mean,
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. And I, been here since 1967. Oh, speaking, and Hour of the Wolf began in January 1971, so this is an anniversary show.
all right.
I can't do the math.
Yeah.
How many years?
48.
48 years. So we're starting our 49th year.
And we know this why? We
What?
know 48 because?
Because I just recently had a birthday and I was born in 1971.
Ooh,
so-
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not a math whiz where I could be like, instantly I know.
So I've been working on this show. I mean, it was Margot Adler's show to begin with until summer of '72. No, she did it for another 5 months after she came back from Clarion, and then she did other stuff, and that's when I took the show over. But I was her engineer, so I've been working on the show and was occasionally her co-host since '71.
Wow. Yeah.
But I started here in '67. So, in May. So I'll be coming up to my 52nd anniversary here. And at this point, I think it's safe to say it's not a freaking hobby. After 52 years, gang.
Oh man, you should just read that whole FCC list off to the
And,
IRS.
and I often do. Yes. And I often do, but I have much better words than that's on. And that's not an FCC list. I mean, the people at the station get it wrong. That's George Carlin's words.
Right.
The FCC never forbade, approved, or anything with any of those words. They wouldn't even take exception with at least two of them. And it's about context. It's
Like
the-
sandwich. What a bunch of sandwiches.
Yes, exactly. There you go. There you go. Burnt pizza
Burnt
sandwiches.
pizza, sure.
Burnt
Burnt
pi-
pizza. You're a burnt pizza sandwich.
I used to make those.
Really?
Yes.
On purpose?
Well, I didn't burn them on purpose. They used to sell these little. I love kitchen gadgets. Okay.
Oh.
And they used to sell these metal things that you would put a piece of buttered bread. You'd butter it on both sides, white bread, and on both these little saucers, and then you'd put in some yellow stuff that they called American cheese, processed cheese, and if you wanted some tomato or something, give that pizza-like demeanor, you closed it like a clamp. And you cut off the excess bread from the side, and you just put that over the flame. And you ended up with a pretty good sort of grilled cheese pizza kind of a thing. But of course, I always burned it. So that was my burnt pizza sandwich. Yes.
Wow. That
And
is...
as I speak about it, I'm getting hungry. It was terrible. I loved it.
Oh, I can't wait to go eat your vegetarian lasagna now.
Yeah. Now I've got something else waiting for me at home. Oh, Chinese food. I was too lazy last night. Wednesday nights are often order nights, and Barbara went to KGB.
Ah, right on.
So had to order. I can't go to KGB anymore. Not since my show was moved from Saturdays to Wednesdays. KGB is crowded, as well it should be. And it's a pub, it's a bar, so people talk very loud. By the time the thing is over, my voice is going. So come, 8 o'clock, and then they all go out to eat, at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And then there's more yelling across the table in huge restaurants and all that. So by 1 a.m., I can't talk.
And then you have to do a show.
And well, that's what I'm saying.
I
Yeah,
get
so
you. I was trying to
so
put all
so
in.
I just can't. So Gordon Linsner now does the recording, which I used to do, and he hands it directly to them. But he also sends me a copy, so I'll get to hear Victor Laval and I forget the name of the woman who was reading with him tonight, but I'll get that tomorrow.
It's on the internet.
No. Actually, yeah, it usually is. It usually
post
is.
them. They
But whether it's on the internet or not, I get it.
Yes.
Because it's often on the radio
Yes.
through some magical means. So, Carlos, we have half an hour left. 25 minutes if you want to include the outro music. How long is your reading?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12, so yeah, not too long.
Yeah, so perhaps... Oh, but before... Oh, yes, we haven't discussed the YA, not YA, the middle grade books
That's right.
that you're doing. Maybe we'll do that after the reading.
Sure.
Okay, so anytime you're ready. Is there any talking up to be done?
I'm just going to read chapter 1 of, I'll hold this up for the Facebook Live contingent. This is Sal and Gabby Break the Universe. This is one of those arcs that they're putting out. But I should have the actual completed, fully copy-edited book out just like in a couple of weeks. And it comes out on March 5th. And so I'm just going to start on chapter 1, make it very easy so that we shouldn't need much of any kind of preview.
We don't even need to know who Sal or Gabby are.
Nope. All you need to know maybe is that Sal's now narrating, so it's a first-person story, and it's Sal Vidon telling the story here.
Fair enough.
Putting on these CVS reading glasses here.
I think they're adorable.
Sal and Gabby Break the Universe, Chapter 1. There's all sorts of bad advice out there about how to deal with bullies. Ignore them, stand up to them, tell a teacher, tell a parent, tell your dentist while he's sticking your teeth back into your face. The real way to deal with a bully is to stick raw chicken in their locker. I had my showdown with Yasmani Robles just 3 days after I had started my new life at Culeco Academy of the Arts, a magnet school in the middle of Miami. To get in, you had to have good grades, pass an interview, and either submit a portfolio for painting or writing, or audition for theater or music. You'd think all the effort someone has to go through to get into Culeco would keep out the bullies. But I guess not. I guess there are just too many of them in the world. If your school only allowed kids who'd never pick on anyone, you'd have an empty school. Whatever. It's not like I hadn't learned how to handle bullies back in Connecticut. On Wednesday, between 4th and 5th periods, I went to the lockers along with 500,000 other kids. I stowed my history book and grabbed math so I could do my homework during lunch, then opened my bag of magic tricks and put on my gotcha stamp ring. We'd be doing introduction in 8th period theater class, and I thought I could use it to demonstrate some sleight of hand. Magic is kind of my thing. I had a minute before I needed to go, so I took out my diabetes bag and fished out my glucose meter. I thought I'd be all right until lunch, but I'd started to feel spacey and dreamy at the end of my last class. Blood sugar levels might be falling. Best to check now. As I rummaged, I noticed the tall kid next to me struggling to get his locker open. He was as Cuban as they come. Brown, built like a track and field champ, with a haircut so short you could see the bumpy skin of his scalp beneath what was left of his tiny curls. He'd wrestled with his combination lock yesterday, too, and never figured it out, so he'd had to carry a full backpack of books to his next class. I'd had trouble with my lock on the first day until I figured out you had to squeeze it as you turned the dial. And I'm a nice guy, so I said to him, "Hey man, my lock sucks too. The trick is to squeeze the top while..." That's all I got out before he punched his locker. The whole hallway grew a little quieter. Yasmani, I learned his name later, but why keep you in suspense, slowly turned to look at me. He scanned me up and down, doing some tough guy calculations to figure out if he could take me. Apparently, he thought he could, because he stepped up to me fast, ferocious, chest out, arms wide. He'd been in a lot of fights, judging by his flat as a shamrock nose. "Just come back from safari, white boy?" he asked. "I mean, if you even are a boy." Let's take a second to break down this insult. The safari crack was because I had on canvas cargo pants and a cargo vest, each with 4 pockets brimming with gadgets and tricks of the trade. Pretty much all the clothes I own has tons of pockets. I'm ready to perform at any time. You never know when the world is going to need a little magic. The white boy crack was because, I guess, to him I looked white. Back when I lived in Connecticut, kids were telling me to, quote, go back to Browntown all the time. But I was in Miami now, new place, new rules about skin color. And the, if you are a boy crack, I kept my hair pretty long. It gave me a place to hide stuff in the middle of a trick. And to this caveman's mind, calling someone a girl was an insult. Whatever. I tried the My Little Pony approach to handling bullies. Sorry, just trying to help. And I started to walk away. He body blocked me. You wanted to help me? Why would a sandwich like you think I'd need your help? Now I looked him in the eye. Your locker's still locked, isn't it? Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said anything. But he called me a sandwich. Some insults you can't let slide. In response, he did what bullies do. He slapped my diabetes bag out of my hands. It hit the ground with a glassy crunch. My stomach crunched right along with it. That pack contained my insulin, my syringes, my blood glucose meter, my Sharps disposal container for used needles, my Band-Aids, and a fun-sized bag of Skittles. If I broke something important in that pack, I could be in real trouble. I knelt down to pick it up, my hands shaking as they reached for the bag. I tried to relax. I closed my eyes, breathed slowly, and remembered what Bobby had said to me after Mommy died. Fear is your body trying to tell your brain what to do. But the brain is the king of the body. It calls the shots. I opened my eyes slowly, the way the good guys in movies do when they've just figured out how to beat the villain. I noticed that the bright young scholars of Kuleko Academy of the Arts had formed a ring around Yasmani and me. This crowd didn't seem as bloodthirsty as the one in my last school had been. In Connecticut, kids hooted like Planet of the Apes whenever a fight was about to start, jumping up and down and beating on each other in anticipation of someone getting wedgied back to the Stone Age. But these kids looked kind of grim and quiet, like this was some boring school assembly they had to attend. Well, from my perspective, it didn't really matter whether they were enjoying themselves or not. They had me surrounded just the same. I was trapped. Wait. No. That's an excuse. I don't lie to myself. I could have pushed my way out of there if I wanted to. But now, all eyes were on me. I had an audience. And I am a showman. Yasmani stretched his fingers wide before he made two fists. Time to die, little man. Stand up. I stood up all right, got right in his face. Time to die? I asked. Time to die, he repeated. Like the dead chicken in your locker, I asked. What? See, that's the real secret of dealing with bullies. Change the game. You thought we were going to fist fight, Mr. Tough Guy, but surprise! Suddenly we're talking about murdered poultry. The dead chicken in your locker, I said, explaining it to the crowd. That's the real reason you didn't want to open it. You didn't want anybody to see your dead chicken, so they wouldn't know you keep dead chickens in your locker because, I said, turning to face Yasmani again, what kind of weirdo keeps dead chickens in his locker? Stop saying dead chicken! Everybody laughed. That probably would have sent Yasmani into a berserker rage if some girl hadn't shrieked, blood! She was pointing at Yasmani's locker. What? Yasmani asked again. He and everyone else looked at his locker, and yeah, there was watery pink blood leaking from it, the kind you find at the bottom of a styrofoam meat package. Not a lot, but enough to drip from the bottom of a locker door and pool on the floor. And it only takes a little bit of blood to freak people all the way out. Not me, though. I mean, I didn't know Sangre de Pollo was going to come dripping out of his locker, but it wasn't exactly a surprise either. I could work with it. Open your locker, I said to Yasmani, unless you're too chicken. If he hadn't been completely bewildered by what was happening, he would have gorilla rushed to me for sure. Instead, he walked over to his locker and tried to undo the lock. 2, 4, 7 yanks on it, each angrier than the last. Then he punched his locker door again and said, I can't open this stupid thing. I keep trying, but I can't. Here, let me. He took a step back to let me through, but not without asking, what? How you know my combo? His combo was still taped to the back of his lock, about as sharp as a bowling ball, this Yasmani. I looked at him over my shoulder with spooky magician eyes and replied, Fool! I am a magician. I can read your mind. Then I spun the dial with fast fingers, clock, then counter, then clockwise again. I tugged the lock open dramatically and with a flourish removed it. You want the honors? I asked him, stepping aside with a gracious magician's bow. Yasmani, bro had gone full autopilot by now, stepped forward and opened the locker door, every kid behind him on tiptoe watching, waiting. A whole raw chicken, like the kind you get at the grocery store, with bumpy yellow skin and no head, flipped out of his locker, landed on its chicken butt, and went splat. Kids scattered, screaming. Adults would be here any second. Yasmani did a 180 and looked around wildly. He didn't have eyes anymore, just fear. I didn't put no dead chicken in my locker, he yelled. You gotta believe me. I believe you, I said. Of course I did. It was I who had put it in there after all. Abracadabra, chicken plucker.
Interrupting the song only because we want to get more talking in before the show is over in just a little while, but we will leave. Now, you didn't choose the Buena Vista Social Club because Buena Vista is a part of Disney, did you know?
Oh, no.
No, you
dear
wouldn't.
no.
No, you'd never do product placement like that. I don't even know how they came up with the name, that name from the band.
The Buena Vista Social Club?
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm not remembering now. They definitely said
Because
it in the
I
movie.
always
so-
associate Buena Vista with Disney.
Right.
But didn't they sing like in the 50s?
Oh, yeah, they
Buena
sang...
Vista Social Club?
Yeah, they sang...
Yeah, but
There was an actual
Buena
social-
Vista goes to the 40s as the distributor for Disney films.
Well, I don't... Did,
Now it's just distributed by Disney, but for
I don't,
30
do
years
you know
or
if
so.
any of the corporations, if they started that place in Havana?
Yeah, no,
or...
these are... I think the Buena Vista Social Club was the name of the social club where a lot of them gathered
Yeah.
after the fact, after the
And
heyday
it
of
probably
their
was a
careers.
neighborhood, a place, or
Yeah.
something
And Buena
called
Vista,
Nice View.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, Buena Vista is a very common kind
Yeah,
of name.
yeah,
you know,
it
it's
is.
a Main Streety kind of name.
It's
so.
really like, gee, you named your place Main Street?
Yeah.
This has so much significance.
Right.
So, very cool. I really enjoy. Now, they're called middle grade books. Adam Troy Castro has been lucky enough to do a few now. His whole Gustav Gloom thing, and they're totally readable by anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
The good ones are.
I guess I've been lucky because I haven't read too many bad ones.
The Madeline Leangle idea of the sort of like, I think you told me the story, Claire, of how she said, you know, oh, well, how do you write for kids? And she's like, oh, I just write. I don't write for kids. And that's how I felt too, you know. I was just trying to write the best book I've ever written, you know. And
With a couple of constraints, but the way poetry has constraints. So if his constraint is, well, you can't use the word balls. I don't know if we can say that on the radio.
oh,
but
I'm sure we could say balls, but yeah, I mean, I was told by my...
Are you talking about Pensy Pinky or Spalding?
I don't
Never
know.
mind.
Yes.
Tennis.
Yes.
Tennis.
Exactly. So, but yeah, so like, you know, I had the phrase, oh, I actually, yeah, context-wise, I hope this is, no, this can't be vulgar. Like, it's this, because it was shocked me. You can't say balls to the wall in a middle grade book, according to my very fine editor who knows everything. So, you know, Stephanie Lurie is like, no, you can't say balls to the wall. It's, really? Balls to the wall? That's like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm thinking about, what was this Stephen King remake that we just saw, Pennywise? It. Yeah, we just saw it.
You
And
saw
like-
it?
Yeah, and the remake of it is full of these, you know, kids, you know, using all sorts of vulgarity that remind me of my middle grade experience.
because
you know.
it's an adult horror movie and with 13-year-old kids, and that they get to speak how 13-year-old kids speak, whereas a book written for 13-year-old kids, you can't show that.
Right, the irony is deep, and so, but you know, like I think you can still find other avenues and other ways to express many of the same ideas, and they can be funny, like they can open opportunities for different ways of thinking, which I think is ultimately good, and it can just lead to a lot of fun. It
It
was
also gave you an opportunity to write adults in a way you haven't seen in many kids' books or in movie adaptations of kids' books. There's a lot of bad teachers and bad parents just abounding. It gives the kids a chance to shine. But in this book, like, the universe itself is sort of the antagonist. So with the universe being the antagonist, it's okay to have good teachers and good parents and everybody trying to work with you because you're so small. You're just a little thing in a big, big universe. And so you don't need, like, villains.
It's not the Ferris Bueller kind of.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of middle grade and YA have sort of like the human versus human kind of conflict structure, and maybe less about sort of like human versus the cosmos. And so that was really the different kind of approach that I was hoping to do with this one. And so it was a lot of fun, and so.
Now, how did you get to do these books to begin with?
So this is my thank you again to Bill Campbell and to Rosarium, because what happened was I put out this little collection of short stories called The Assimilated Cuban's Guide to Quantum Santeria, and Rick Riordan, who is a force of nature in publishing. He has 80 million books in print.
Yeah.
Just this incredible writer of middle grade. Just a quick aside, just because I think it's really funny. I told a friend of mine that I was writing middle grade fiction, and kind of like half confused and half joking, he said, "Oh, so you just didn't want to try very hard?"
Oh.
It's like, yeah, I don't want to go like grade A. I'm just going middle grade. Pretty funny. I thought anyway. But so Mr. Riordan happened to pick up my collection of short stories. How and why, I'm still not clear. But he did, and he liked it. So at first, he gave it a really great review on Goodreads that got it a lot of attention. Later, when Rosarium was running an Indiegogo campaign to help support the press, he gave a tremendous matching donation and, really brought the Indiegogo to success. In a really important way. And
one may point out that the book was reviewed in the New York Times.
Yeah, I mean,
it got noticed.
It got pretty good critical reception, but it's still a small press, and it didn't sell 100,000 copies or anything, and he's a busy guy, so it's surprising to me that he would have found it, and that then he loved it, and then he passed it to his editor at Disney, and it happened that he was interested in starting this new imprint where he wanted to feature own voices, and so he had been receiving requests from his throng of fans saying, "Can you do other mythologies? Can you do Indian, meaning Indian mythology, or can you do the different pantheons in Mexican history, or Central American history, or South American history, and all these different places?" And he was like, "No, actually, I don't think I should do that. But you know what? There are lots of great writers out there who could do it." And so this is where Rick Riordan Presents come from. He's asking, people who can identify with the mythologies that they're writing from to write about Indian mythology or Mayan mythology. The
Korean.
third book. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, yeah. So there's some Fox and Korean myth built into a science fiction one. Just came out. Dragon Pearl just came out. I think 2 days ago, maybe.
Yeah,
Like
either yesterday or the day before.
Yeah. So the books that are coming out are all people who are speaking. Rebecca Roanhorse is going to be putting out a book with them.
That's cool.
And other authors are coming forward as well. And so I get to be fourth in this really august list of writers who are taking culture and mythology and writing from their own perspectives. My book's a little different in that it doesn't have a pantheon of gods, and my characters aren't, sort of like God-touched or God-born or anything like that. It's much more cultural in the way that it approaches them, and science fiction also, which is, we just had Dragon Pearl, which is hard sci-fi in a lot of ways. So but this is also science fiction, but maybe a little closer to now and zanier. I think it's like it's much more of a madcap kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's how it came about, and I mean the line I've been using, which I think accurately describes it, is that I don't get to win Powerball. Like this chance that I got was my Powerball, and I'm so happy with it. Like I prefer this to Powerball, infinitely, because this is my vocation, and so this is the good stuff.
Now that's really great. Congratulations
Yeah.
for being able to do that.
Super lucky.
So, yeah. Blessed, as it were.
Yeah.
Claire, so where are you with your novel?
Well,
It's
No
amazing.
pressure, no pressure.
No,
The-
it's
the
amazing. It is.
the fifth draft of it was what got me an agent, and so he gave me feedback very fast. And I spent all of last year, the 10 months. It was a 10-month revision, doing some pretty major structural changes. Gave it to him, and he got me feedback very fast. So I'm now more than a third of the way through revisions, and I'm hoping it won't take 10 months, but rather perhaps one more month. And then he'll start submitting it. So it's very close to being done. But
okay.
But I feel like it's been very close for a while. It's just
So with any luck, auction time.
Oh, no.
One can only wish.
When he's I feel like he's a very good agent. He's,
Very good agents hold very good auctions.
So let him do his work, but I don't know much about auctions, and I'll let him do it.
What's the title?
Yeah.
What's the title? The title, Carlos, is Miscellaneous Stones Necromancer.
Ooh.
Miscellaneous Stones is the name of my protagonist because I like strange names. We call her Lainey for short. It's much more accessible. But when people are angry at her, like her great-grandfather, who's a ghost trapped in a padlock on a sarcophagus, he calls her Miscellaneous Immiscible Stones, which is her full name.
Invisible. And what's his full name?
His name is Irradiant Radithor Stones,
Okay.
or Grandpa Rad.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Radithor. It's such a great use of that.
It's a joke. It's one of my little jokes. My favorite Stones name, because all the Stones ancestors get fun names. It's like whenever I come across a word I really like, but it would be very difficult to use it in a sentence, I just make it a name of a character. And Opschapluper. Opschapluper Stones is my favorite. Opschapluper, I think, is the German word for somebody who keeps mooching off friends, like invites themselves over to dinner and like just decides to hang out with you.
I was thinking it might be a dachshund,
But
Opschapluper, come on.
Poor little Opschapluper who killed more friends by accident than enemies on commission. Because all the Stoneses are assassins and necromancers. So that's Opschapluper Stones. He gets a line. Just because I wanted to use the word in a sentence.
There you go.
But my novella is
Yes.
coming out in July from
Tor.
Tor.com.
Oh, very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
And that's what I read from tonight.
Okay, very good. And we'll be looking forward to that. Tor.com's doing some dynamite stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I mean-
Like Murderbot, for example.
No, well, there's that.
Mostly Murderbot. I love Murderbot. Tina Connolly's,
Kelly Robson.
Kelly Robson, really, everything they publish is good. Oh, Brooke Bolander.
Yeah,
Brooke Bolander
and
just
Bo,
had a new piece come out, and Catherine Duckett has a piece coming out, and Mimi Mondal just came out with something.
Oh, I have to grab that.
Just came out with it next week.
Oh, good. Next week.
And next week on the show, by the way, our guest will be Cassandra Claw. Who's already done
I
two
really
pieces for
love her
Tor.com.
work.
Yeah.
She's so good.
We saw her at New York Review of Science Fiction. She was terrific.
Her
Yes,
poetry
she is.
blows my mind, and her fiction's great.
Oh,
And the
please.
week after that, Karen Hewler.
Great.
But wait,
So-
before you get off of Cassandra, make sure you ask her about game writing. She's doing some
Oh.
incredible game writing work,
Oh,
so-
yes, you and I have to have discussions about games.
Yeah.
And stuff, because Carlos is a master game creator. That's a whole other show.
Whole other show.
Okay, and we will get to that. But in case you've been noticing in your headphones or your radios at home, that's our outro music. Our show is over.
Wow.
So
Thank you, Jim.
Well, we'll do this again soon, I hope. And now that you're both New York based, it was difficult for a little while what with the commute. And as people can see in the background, Lister is getting naked, so that must mean that it's time to say goodnight.
This is Facebook Live. Like, keep your pants on, man.
The pants mostly stay on, but the rest of it, there's absolutely...
Can we say balls?
I hope so. Because we said it a lot.
This has been Hour of the Wolf. My name is Jim Freund. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody be good to each other because we all deserve it, and you deserve it. We will be back next week at 1 a.m. with Cassandra Caw. And in the meantime, have a good time. Oh, if you want to see more of CSE Cooney and Carlos Hernandez, go to the New York Review of Science Fiction Readings Facebook page, and you can watch their performance from December, where they both read and sing. So, again, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for Burn Baby Burn Clapper with Lister, coming your way very shortly.
Great show.
Tons of fun, yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
I remember just at the last moment to plug this in. Otherwise, it just runs out about 90 minutes into the show.
Oh.